Hi everyone, my name is Bassel. I'm a sales engineer at Coherent, and today I wanted to show to you a little bit of a demo around an interesting use case that we've been showing to our partners and clients around the reinsurance industry. So let's go. I'm gonna show this to you, starting by the architecture diagram, so you get an overview a little bit of how everything works together, and then we will see how we can plug everything all together within Spark, and then at the end I'm going to also show you a little bit of the front end here. So on the top here you have the front end interface that basically goes and call based on a set of input, call the sample seeded model here. So that model, what it does, it's basically aggregate all the data from the lower part of the diagram architecture here. So on the lower part, we have a policy record working as a kind of like as a database, but in our example today we use the Excel. Obviously, this can also be plugged into an external database. And on the bottom right part here, we have the treaty here. So in that Excel, this basically highlights all of the treaty rules that are in place. What's the benefit of having this type of architecture? I found it very clean because you have very isolated Excels and models that are sitting. For example, here you can have like a policy admin manager that can have access only and purely to that Excel spreadsheet with all the policy records only, and he cannot alter or see anything that is happening outside of this box here. And it's exactly the same here for the treaty. Imagine you have a reinsurance treaty specialist that his sole job is actually to update all the treaty rules. So he can only do that within his Excel and only access and upload that within his own environment. But then the box that is here, the sample seeded model, is where all the magic happens. So this Excel spreadsheet is basically looking up into the policy records as well as the treaty, and those two Excels goes back into the sample seeded model and then goes back into the front end. I'm not going to go into details in terms of how do we connect all of this spreadsheet together, because there is another video for that. But basically, we use the function xcall that connects all the spreadsheets together. Just to give you a little bit of look and feel of how those Excels looks like. So the policy record Excel is a very simple table listing basically all of the different active policies. And you have, like, for example, here the different quarter and year. You have the written premium year, the loss, and the reserves. And exactly the same here for all the treaty. So in our example today, we have like 4 treaty that are in place depending on the industry with different session percentage placement across different companies. So you can see here those Excel are independent, only one tab, very simple in our example today, but they represent the 2 boxes that are here. Now, this sample seeded model, it's actually this Excel. So how does that look like basically here? So in here, I have a set of input here. So for example, I have the quarter, I have the year, and when I select that, what is happening here, it tells me a short list of all the different policies that are within that specific industry, with that specific quarter, and for the year 2024. And I can also add more and more filters. For example, I can also add the states, but this is totally flexible here. So, okay, I have my sets of input here. I have the shortlisted policies that are applicable to that specific set of inputs. But also you may have noticed that when I change the industry here, it actually also go and fetch into that other Excel using the function xcall here, that is a Spark function, and actually display and populate the applicable treaty every time I change that. So it will do 2 things: modify the shortlisted policies within that set of input, as well as the applicable treaty for that specific industry. Now, great, I have all of this in place. Everything is connected together across the 2 Excels, so the database and the treaty. Then the only thing that I need to do is to basically go into a whole set of calculation for that specific set of inputs. And I do have now my treaty breakdown showing up here based on the different set of calculations. And I also have the table breakdown of the reinsurance there. This is as simple as this, but that has been proven to be quite efficient and effective in terms of our architecture. Now, you may have seen in other videos how this works in terms of uploading to Spark. I'm just going to jump quickly into the Spark user interface so you can actually see how everything has been converted into API, and you can plug that into a front end. So in here in Spark, we have basically loaded the three Excel models that we've seen earlier. And you have your sample seeded model here and the treaty and the policy records. So imagine every time you have a new treaty that is coming up, or you want to do an update to existing treaty, you just modify your Excel, upload that into this specific box here. And same, if you have new policy records that are being updated, you can actually update the Excel and drag and drop into that specific box here of the policy records. Now, my sample seeded model here, what it does is looking down into those two services. So you can see here in the API tester, we have exactly the same inputs, the same set of inputs. And when I hit submit, it's already calling this live API, the endpoint URL. And on the right-hand side here, I just hit submit and I have my outputs. So the outputs in that case will be the total premium, the paid losses, the loss reserves. I also have details about the treaty that is being looked up. In that case, that was for the retail store. So those are the data for the treaty. And then I have my two tables as an output, which is the reinsurance breakdown, as well as the treaty breakdown here. So as simple as this, I was able to basically upload and then get an API ready and have this live through an API. How this now can be plugged into a user interface, very quickly, just to show you how I built this using Retool, which is a low-code, no-code application, just to show you how I can consume very quickly and very easily the API generated by Spark. So here, I actually put my different inputs exactly the same as in the Excel. You can see the drop-down are also dynamically updated based on the API and based on what is in the Excel. And when I hit generate, what is happening now is I have, so this is an overview of the input selected. Now this is my applicable treaty because I selected retail stores industry. And this is basically the list of the shortlisted policies applicable for Q3 here, 2024, and that are in the retail store industry. So if I now hit go to session overview, what is happening? It's actually calculating all of the different breakdown and also the treaty breakdown for that specific selection that I've done. That's it, as simple as this. Thank you for taking the time to watch this video today, and feel free to reach out to Coherent if you have any inquiry about this.